back once again. I pray everybody is doing well. We are about to get into this. You read the title. You read the title. You read the title. Greetings, Miss Michelle. It's been a long time. Haven't seen you in a while. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Shout out to Miss Michelle, Essence of Knowledge Bookstore, where she has a lot of melanated authors in her bookstore. So definitely shout out to Miss Michelle from Essence of Knowledge Bookstore. So this book, Madame, is hot off the presses, and I am on chapter 6. So I'm going to read today, and this is why I was saving my voice a little bit because it gets hoarse. But I'm gonna read today because we're gonna give AI a break. So essentially, what's happening? This young woman and her daughter, they got a new job. They're in Perry Welcome. They are in Nigeria, right? They're got a job on Victoria Island, which was this, Beverly Hills rich area. And essentially, her boss begins to hit on her. I might have to make AI read today. Her boss begins to hit on her, and her boss is Mr. Nkechi. So, and if you missed it, you're probably gonna have to look at the other episodes. But I'm just running you up to the starting line here. So his wife ended up having an emergency in the village, right? And she had to go. Conveniently, his wife had to go, and he sees this as the perfect time. My voice today. He sees this as the perfect time to make his move on his on his maid. The only problem is the maid feels as though she can't quit because she doesn't want to go back to the hood. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't want to go back to selling puff puffs at the market. So let's continue. Let me drink a little water here. And if you wonder where you could get this book because you missed some of the stuff, the book is available on my link tree in the description. All right. So we're on chapter 6. The moonlight filtered through the narrow window of the servants' quarters. Oh, yeah, by the way, I forgot before I start. He invited her. She's the head chef, and he asked her to make a special meal. But instead of serving it to him, he wanted her to sit down and join him, which she thought was kind of strange because why am I sitting down with you to eat? So that's how he made his move on her. But anyway, the moonlight filtered through the narrow window of the servants' quarters, casting a pale glow on the worn wooden floor. Ada had just returned from her first movie outing. By the way, Ada is her young daughter, so the both of them live at their employer's house. Still brimming with excitement, my bad. The cinema had been a wonder, so different from anything she had ever known. And that is significant. I'm just doing a little backtracking because he tried to get her out the house, right? He wanted her out the house, everybody out the house, so nobody would be there to see him, being a sneaky employer guy. All right. So I'm not going to be stopping that much anymore. It says the cinema had been a wonder, so different from anything she had ever known. Maria took her to watch an American romance full of drama and passion with vibrant colors and thrilling scenes. She couldn't stop thinking about it, her words tumbling out in a rush. I can't believe how big the screen was, and the actors, they didn't even speak the same way. Mama, you should have seen the woman. She was beautiful and confident. And the man, he was so brave, so handsome. Her eyes sparkled as she sat beside her mother in their small room. You know when children come home and they're so excited. Share this live, by the way. And they want to tell you something, but your mind is on something else. You really can't concentrate. That's the scenario. But she didn't respond. Her gaze was distant, fixed on the half-eaten meal on the small table in front of her. The remnants of the pepper soup and fufu still sat in the bowls untouched. Her mother had not eaten much of her own dinner, and it wasn't because she was hungry. She was stressed. She was stressed because this man is over here stressing her. She was stressed. Let me continue. Does it sound like AI wrote it? This is why I'm reading it out loud because people are like, how did you get AI to sound like you wrote it? Because of the prompts. And if you're interested in it, I actually have a course, not only the book, but how I wrote this story in 7 days. 7 days in 1 week using AI. But let's continue. Ada noticed that since his request was the special meal, her mother's mood had changed. There was something about her that seemed off, like she was somewhere far away. Mama, are you listening to me? I want to tell you about the movie. She blinked, her focus snapping back to her daughter. Nkechi forced a smile, but there was a wariness in her eyes that her daughter hadn't seen before. I'm sorry, my love. I'm listening. I promise. Tell me more. I'll be trying to pull that one too. Like, tell me more. No, 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 I'm listening. And they'd be like, no, you're not listening. I could tell you're not listening, right? They could tell when you're ignoring them and you're not listening. This is not going to be a long one. My voice is, hold on one second, peoples. But Ada could see the strain in her mother's voice, the fatigue behind her words. It wasn't just physical exhaustion. Ada was too young to understand that her mother was caught between old feelings, new fears, and the reality of the precarious situation they found themselves in. Like, should she quit or should she stay and be harassed? Precarious, right? Where am I here? She continued excitedly about the movie, trying to distract her mother, but deep down, she knew her words weren't reaching her. When she finished recounting the plot of the film, her mother smiled at her gently and then glanced at the time. It's late, Mama said with a small sigh. Go to bed, my dear. Everything will be fine. You'll see. But she wasn't convinced. She lay awake for what felt like hours, her mind racing with thoughts of the movie, the house, Amara, and the strange woman in the white turban. I got to catch those up. The strange woman in the white turban gave this kind of ominous warning to the madame of the house, right? So this little girl, she's 9 and she has a lot on her mind. The next morning came too soon. Nkechi had barely slept, her mind preoccupied with the strange encounter from the night before. After dinner, she realized that he managed to stir something in her, a feeling she hadn't felt in years. So she was trying not to fall for this boss, but it seems, something. When her man disappeared, she had sworn to herself that she would never allow another man to get that close. Nkechi loved him with a depth that had consumed her, and when he vanished from her life, he took everything. After that, she built walls around herself, convinced that she would be better off alone, focusing on her daughter and the hard work that kept them afloat. So she cut off herself emotionally. Welcome to those who just joined us. She cut herself off emotionally, right? But this boss, when he grabbed her little wrist, he grabbed her hand in yesterday's episode, all of a sudden now she starts to feel something for him. Weird, very weird. But let's continue. But now, Mr. Aneke's presence in her life, those walls seemed to be crumbling bit by bit. The scent of his cologne still clung to her mind. Listen, you do know that this is the madame's husband, right? This is the madame's husband. The scent of his cologne still clung to her mind, rich, woody, and powerful. A scent that had made her remember what it was like to feel desired, to feel seen. For the first time in years, she was forced to confront herself, and it terrified her. She had to remain strong for herself and for her child. But every time she saw him, which would be every day because she worked at the house. Welcome to those who just joined us, right? So every time she runs into this boss guy, it says here, every time their paths crossed, she felt herself drawn into the orbit of his power. It was dangerous, she knew, but the temptation was there, always just beneath the surface. Are y'all rocking with it? Like and subscribe and share. We are reading chapter, what is this, 6 of Madame, the new novel that just dropped. And again, I must say it's a crazy feat. It was written in 7 days using my prompts and Chat GPT, and it's available online. All right. Later that morning, just as the sun began to rise, she heard the sharp tap of someone knocking on her door. Nkechi answered immediately. The maid greeted her then, handing her a note. No problem, Miss Michelle. Good to see you. Long time no see. Take care of yourself. It says here, Nkechi, I'll be leaving for an important meeting this morning. Could you prepare my breakfast early? I'll need you to bring it to my study. Just a simple meal, bread and tea, please, and don't keep me waiting. This guy is demanding and he keeps luring her over. Shout out to those who just joined us on the YouTube side. He keeps luring her over to do her job. And then after she does her job, he makes his move. Now he talking about he wants some bread and tea and don't be late. She hurried to get washed up and put on her uniform. Even though Nkechi had prepared his breakfast many times before, today felt different. Yeah, because you're over there smelling his cologne. Everything felt different. When the time came, she prepared the simple meal, the bread and tea. If you write, right, if you're an author and your own book doesn't make you laugh or doesn't get, you know what I mean? I don't know. It has to keep you engaged too. So y'all guys is engaged. I'm over here engaged. Let me know how's it going on your side. Let me continue. So homie wants her to come to the office. And it says, when the time, where am I? When the time came, she prepared the simple meal, placing the sliced bread on a tray and carefully pouring the tea into his favorite cup. She all know him favorite cup. As she entered the study with the tray in hand, he was already standing by the window, his back to her. So he gonna tell her, don't be late, be on time, make my breakfast, and then go act all cool and debonair, just standing by the window. I can't with the mind games, Mr. Neki. It says he turned when she entered, his gaze sharp and appraising. You're early, he remarked with a smile, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. Good. I was hoping I could speak with you for a moment. She set the tray on the desk. He picked up his cup of tea, his fingers brushing against hers as he did so. Why this man not like keeping hand to himself? Go ahead and give some hearts. Shout out, throw some hearts up in the chat. Why this man don't like keep his hands to himself? Him keep on touching the maid. Why? I mean the chef. Anyway, it says here, so she takes the tea and he over here brushing her hand and stuff. It says the brief touch sent a jolt through her body, and for a moment she almost forgot herself. Thank you, thank you. Shout out to those who's giving us the likes so that this can get out. We reading Madame, a soul therapy novel, okay? Thank you, Nkechi. She forced a nervous smile. So he's all like, thank you. It's my job, sir. So she's trying to like get it back to where we need to be, sir. Let's be professional here. It is my job. It is my job. Okay. So she says, it's my job, sir. But he wasn't listening. He reached out, pulled a small folded note from the inside pocket of his jacket. He placed it into her hand. His fingers lingered on hers just a moment longer than necessary. Huh? What are we doing here? Please read this when you have the chance. I think you'll find it interesting. When she hesitated to take the note, he tucked it into the front pocket of her apron. So this guy's over here trying to slide love notes, pretending to be calm, though her mind was spinning with the implications of what he had just done. She continued, is there anything else, sir? He looked at her, his expression unreadable. No, nothing else for now. So basically, the whole ploy was to come to the office early so that he could slip her the note. Nothing, no, nothing else for now. With that, he turned away from her and walked towards the door, leaving her standing in the center of the study. Nkechi didn't want to open it. She didn't want to know what he had written, but deep down, she knew she would. As the door clicked shut behind him, she exhaled slowly, trying to steady herself. The day was only just beginning, but already it felt like everything was on the verge of unraveling. What a morning. She woke up early in the morning. Let me make sure. Oh, wow, I can't even make sure. Let me make sure on the other side that everything is good. She wakes up early this morning to bring this man some tea and bread, only for him to use it as a ploy, another ploy. Let's continue. By the time she returned to the kitchen, the rest of the house had begun to stir. The staff had started their duties, and the house seemed to pulse with its usual rhythm. Yet, despite the normalcy around her, Nkeche was anything but normal. And by the way, the madame, the mistress, she's gone. She's not there. So the maid, not the maid, the chef is taking the lead in running the household while she's away, right? That's would be her boss. Yes, yet despite the normalcy around her, Nkeche was anything but normal. She could feel butterflies fluttering in her stomach as her mind lingered on the note. Was she falling for her boss? I forgot what I named this. What did I name it? What did I name this again? I named it Will She Marry? Will she? I forgot what I named it, you guys. Something about will she marry a married man? Something of that effect. Let me double check and see what I named this thing here. Will she agree to be his second wife? That's what I named it. And let me just make sure I could be heard on the other side. Yep, we could be heard. So let's continue. Let's continue. It had been nearly a week since Miss Aneke left for her family emergency, and there was still no word on when she would return. No one openly discussed what was happening between the couple, but the breakdown in communication was unmistakable. Everyone could feel it, even if no one dared to acknowledge. So, for those who just joined us, we are reading from Madame. That was chapter 6. That was